Hello you guys and welcome to my channel. Today's video is another Reddit no sleep story. This one is written by how-queer. It is on Reddit no sleep and it is called The Sisters of House Omega. So I'm assuming it's about a sorority. I have not read it. It is under Reddit no sleep, so I'm hoping it's a little bit creepy, and let's just go right into this video. I was never the type to join a sorority. My twin sister Shell begged me to rush with her the summer before our freshman year approached, but I think she knew deep down I was a lost cause. I was a band geek in high school, and a band geek I intended to remain. Don't get me wrong, this isn't some not like other girls bullshit. I was happy for Chell. I even got trashed on celebratory wine coolers with her when she pledged her sorority. We just had different interests. As long as she was happy, that's all that mattered, and I know she felt the same about me. How did I miss that she was so deeply unhappy? She threw herself off the bell tower in the center of campus less than 3 weeks before the end of spring semester. I hadn't seen her in a couple of days. I was holed up in the library, pulling double all-nighters to finish my final paper for Greek and Roman mythology. I woke up in the early afternoon on a Sunday to 10 missed calls from my mom and a text from Chell. Love you forever, Lou. I'm so sorry. 2:55 a.m. Witnesses say she jumped at 3:02. I skipped finals, took incompletes in all of my classes, and headed home to be with my mom. Alex, our best friend from high school, offered to bail on the rest of semester 2, but I didn't want him to lose his scholarships. Still, he made the 2-hour drive home every weekend to hang with me. We didn't talk much. It still hurt too much to remember the good times, and I didn't care much about the present. But it was better than drinking alone, and Alex was generous with sharing his weed. My mom insisted I get back into the swing of things this fall. I decided just to do a half-time course load, mostly focused on finishing up my classes from last semester. I moved into a solo room in the dorms that's more than the size of a closet, than a real livable space. I didn't mind being alone. I kind of preferred it that way. Alex, though, thought that the solitude was bad for me, or at least that's what he claimed when he dragged me along to a Greek party last weekend. Chell was popular among guys in this fraternity, he said, and they'd all be asking about me. Worried I really didn't want to go, but Alex wouldn't let up. It's what Michelle would have wanted, Louise. Asshole, even if he was right. That's how I found myself last Saturday in the passenger seat of Alex's BMW, driving out in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. I quickly realized I had no idea where the hell we were or where we were headed. I'd never gone to a frat party with Chell. Navigating a sea of sweaty dudes who smell like PBR isn't my ideal night out, but I was pretty sure most frat houses weren't 45 minutes from campus, tucked away off a dirt road that didn't even have a name on Google Maps. I picked up the fraying thread on the hem of my sweater, one of Chell's. It was bright green and haphazard, cropped at the waist in a homemade chop job. It wasn't my style at all, and I never would have worn it before before she was gone, but that night wearing it gave me confidence, like she was there with me. So what's the deal with this party anyway? Or are you driving me out in the middle of nowhere to murder me? Alex rolled his eyes and fished a piece of black cardstock out of the mess of napkins on his center console. The paper was heavy, expensive, and gold embossed letters glittering in a scrolling font. You are cordially invited, the Sisters of House of Omega welcome you to our fall semester culling. Attendance is mandatory. Only the true of heart will remain until dawn. Will that be you, Alex? Did all the guys in the house get one of these? I turned the paper over where an address and time were listed. Country Road 5, midnight. Yeah, about a week ago. We're still trying to figure out who's hosting. It's not this Omega sorority. Alex laughed at me, not unkindly. There's no such thing, Louise. I frowned. A party in the middle of nowhere hosted by nobody? I was already starting to regret abandoning my resolve to live the semester as a hermit. None of this is creeping you out? What does it mean by culling, anyway? It's just for dramatics. So you can see who can stick it out all night, you know? Maybe there'll be a prize. And you know what? He grinned and slapped me on my thigh. I slapped him back. We're not gonna pussy out. We'll be the winners, the last ones standing, just like old times, you and me. I turned into a pumpkin after 2. I'm serious, Lou. So am I, Alexander. He knew I hated being called Lou. Chell always called me Lou. Besides, are they even gonna let me in? I didn't get one of these. I shook the invite in his face. I was starting to have a really bad feeling. If I'd known about all this weirdness beforehand, I would have already been in bed, tossing and turning on my lumpy twin mattress, brainstorming ways to beg Professor Dixon for yet another extension on my first paper. Sounded better than stumbling into a plot of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Come on, Louise. If it's lame, we'll bail, and they'll definitely let you in. I mean, you look just like her. They'll feel sorry for me? I took grim satisfaction seeing the smile slip off his face. No, absolutely not. His lips pulled down into a frown, and I looked away. Louise, his large hand, grasped my fingers gently. His voice had gone soft. I just mean that everybody loved Chell, and they'll love you too, just like she did. I looked out the window and blinked hard once, twice, before clearing my throat. Fine, but the second I'm ready to leave, we're leaving, prize be damned. Alex squeezed my hand and let go. Deal. We continued the drive in silence. Alex drummed his fingers on the steering wheel, and I scanned the empty field on the side of the road. We'd pulled off on the country road over 10 minutes ago. We'd almost missed the turnoff, which was only marked by a small weathered wood sign embossed with a gold omega symbol. There was still no sign of a party. Alex shifted the driver's seat and hunched over the steering wheel, squinting into the darkness. Yeah, I feel like we should have seen it by now. He laughed, high-pitched and thready. I continued unraveling the loose thread on the hem of Chell's sweater. The BMW crested a large hill, and I let out a breath I hadn't known I was holding. A large white farmhouse stood in the valley below us. A fleet of Land Rovers and Mercedes parked haphazardly in the grass out front. Alex laughed, much more genuinely this time, and patted my knee as he parked next to a Lexus. Relax, it's gonna be fun. I mustered up a smile, but didn't say anything. Alex grinned and hopped out of the car. I peered up at the house. The facade was bright and cheery, freshly painted, with bright blue shutters flanking the windows. The front door was bubbly yellow. The interior glimpsed through the open blinds, looked warm and inviting, and I could already feel the bass beat of a shitty pop song vibrating softly in my chest. It all looked pretty innocuous. Maybe I could have a good time for Alex. For Chell. The loud clunk of the passenger door opening startled me. Alex arched his eyebrow, forearm braced on the roof of the car. Are you coming, or were you planning to wait in the car all night? I rolled my eyes and unbuckled. I socked him in the arm as I climbed out of the car. Let's have some fun or whatever. I didn't need to worry about getting in the door. There was nobody checking invitations. We were greeted by a loud cheer of Alex. When we entered the living room, the party well underway. A few guys ran up, thumping Alex on the back and nodding my way in polite acknowledgement. I was suddenly enveloped in a bear hug by a man whose name I couldn't remember, overwhelmed by a cloud of axe and sour beer breath. We're so glad you could make it, Lou. We missed Chell so much. A chorus of drunk voices chimed in, booming in the small space of the foyer. Chell. Sour breath let me go to pump his fist in the air, and the boys all started chanting Chell's name. I couldn't decide whether I was endeared or disgusted. Alex flushed and elbowed one of his brothers in the ribs. I was about to give him shit when another much more slender arm wrapped around my shoulder. Oh, Louise, I didn't know you were going to be here. Anna, the president of Chell's sorority, had to crouch down to hug me. Her words were slurred. Her movements were clumsy, but her big brown eyes were clear and focused when she pulled back. Anna had always liked Chell, took her under her wing when she first started pledging, and she's always made me feel welcome in the house, so it was out of the ordinary that she looked concerned rather than pleased to see me. Yeah, Alex said it would be cool. I glared in Alex's direction. He shrugged. Anna's brow furrowed, but before she could answer, another voice chimed in, rich and melodic. Oh, I didn't realize this was Alex's party. Anna froze and her eyes widened. Slowly she turned to face 3 of the most beautiful women I had ever seen in my entire life. Despite their striking appearance, I don't know that I could describe any of them now. It's all kind of fuzzy in my memory, but I do know that they were supermodel tall, willowy, with bright eyes, and seemed to stare right through me. One of the women's sparkling green eyes boring into mine spoke again in the same resonant tone. "Anna, who's your party crasher friend?" She smiled when she said it, and her tone betrayed no ill will, but I still shrank back behind Anna instinctually. I can't say that word. I looked around again for Alex, but he had wandered off already. That set off distinct alarms in my brain. After all, his promises that we would stick together. But I couldn't focus on anything but the women in front of me. Anna grabbed my hand and squeezed it tightly. "Oh, you remember Chell, the girl I told you about? This is her sister Louise." And well, I think Alex just thought. Another of the three women, gray eyes this time, stepped around Anna in one smooth motion, interrupting her rambling. She grabbed my hand out of Anna's and clasped it between both of her own. Her skin was cool, almost cold, but her grip was soft. I thought I was just rocking a stupid crush at the time, but the world seemed to tilt off center when she bent down to meet me at eye level, voice whisper soft yet strong enough to carry over the house music thumping through the floorboards. "Darling, I'm so sorry about your sister, but I'm really not sure this party is your scene." Anna looked downright panicked by this point, falling all over herself to apologize to the trio. I scanned the crowd, and aside from Alex and a couple of his fraternity brothers, I only saw one other person at the party who looked familiar, a girl from Chell and Anna's sorority, Beth Stacy, who I knew almost nothing about. Chell had never introduced me to her. A distant part of me registered that I should be embarrassed, or that if Anna was panicking, maybe I should be too. Instead, I felt a strange sense of calm, content to follow wherever that voice might lead me. Of course, I didn't mean to cause any trouble. The third woman stepped forward and rested a graceful hand lightly on my shoulder. Bright blue eyes danced kindly. I couldn't look away. "No trouble at all, sweetheart. Just let me walk you to your car." Anna looked on helplessly as the two women guided me slowly to the door. A tiny splinter of logic somehow managed to pierce the haze that had settled over my brain. "I don't have a car." Alex drove me. Gray eyes and blue eyes looked at each other for a few minutes, seeming to have a silent conversation. Blue eyes finally sighed and turned back to me. "Well then, I guess there's nothing for it. Want to keep me company in the kitchen?" I feel the dopey grin splitting my face, but I couldn't do anything to stop it. I nodded a bit too enthusiastically to be cool. Blue eyes laughed. It sounded like bells. My mind sunk deeper into the fog. It didn't even cross my mind to go find Alex. I forgot about Anna's frantic worry from just moments before. I let Blue Eyes take my hand and lead me further into the house. I felt safe while I was with her, a peace I hadn't felt since Chell's death washed over me. The next day, as the memories came back to me in flashes, I realized how off everything was. The whole house and this shimmering glow about it, like something out of a dream. Alex's fraternity brothers and the handful of girls from Chell's sorority drank from seemingly bottomless red Solo cups and danced feverishly in the living room, pressed tightly together in a writhing mass. The rest of the partygoers did shot after shot in the kitchen. Never-ending supply of vodka and tequila flowing freely, poured generously by the mysterious sisters of House Omega. The sisters themselves, each as stunningly gorgeous as the last, stood around the party's periphery, laughing easily at the revelry without actually partaking in any of it themselves. All the while, those piercing eyes swept over the party with a calculated, unsettling intensity. Hindsight, of course, is 20/20. At the time, I was too swept to myself, to enraptured by ocean blue eyes to notice anything odd. I wish I could remember her name, Blue Eyes. In spite of everything that happened, I still find myself yearning to know more about her. She pulled me into a cozy bench seat in the corner of the kitchen, away from the worst of the noise. She tucked a stray hair behind my ear with long, graceful fingers, and she asked me to tell her about myself. So I did. I poured my heart out. I told her about what it was like coming out of high school in a small town in the Midwest and how supportive Chell always was, even when Alex wigged out and didn't talk to me for a month. I told her about my dreams of becoming a songwriter and making a break for the coast, about how that dream died with Chell because I couldn't imagine anybody else singing my songs but her. I told her all about my hopes and dreams and my desires, about my guilt at moving on to live a life that Chell and I had always planned to live together. I told her about my deepest fear, that I don't know who I am without my twin sister, my other half, that maybe without Chell, I'm nothing at all. Looking back on it, I can't remember what Blue Eyes actually said to me throughout all of this. She certainly didn't give away anything about herself, who she was, where she came from, not even her own name. But I remember this overwhelmingly sense of comfort of her telling me, maybe not in so many words, that I was somebody. I was important. I mattered, even though she couldn't have known me. Somehow she did, and she loved me. She held my hand as I laughed and cried, and it felt like she was laughing and crying with me, feeling everything I felt just as deeply. The next part gets even fuzzier. At some points, Blue Eyes took my hand and invited me upstairs. Usually this is the part where I lose my cool, especially with a woman so gut-wrenchingly beautiful, but the nerves never came. I felt like I was floating all the way up the stairs to her room, in the edge of her twin bed. When she finally kissed me and pressed me back into her soft sheets, galaxies exploded behind my closed eyes. I didn't go any farther than that, but it was somehow the most intimate experience of my life. I have no idea how long we stayed there, arms around each other, lips sliding together softly, sweetly. At some point she pulled away to give me another one of those deep, searching looks. She opened her mouth as if to speak when, somewhere in the house, a clock started to chime midnight. Her head snapped toward the door. She ducked her head and sighed. "Wait here, Lou." I nodded. It wasn't a question. There was nowhere else I wanted to be. With one last press of her lips to mine, she was gone. I flopped back down onto the bed, idly wondering how long she would be gone and what we might get up to when she got back. Before I could follow that train of thought too far, a high-pitched, harsh shriek rent the night, painfully loud even over the pounding bass line from downstairs. More inhumane, screeching voices soon joined. I shot up in bed just as the dance music cut out with the painfully grating sound of feedback from the speakers. There was a series of terrible thundering crashes, and a chorus of panicked screams sounded from the partygoers below. The peaceful veil clouding my thoughts lifted in an instant. It finally caught up to me how wrong the situation was. I didn't even really remember coming upstairs, and I hadn't seen Alex in hours. Shit, Alex is down there. So you guys, this is a really, really long story, so I'm going to cut it here, and I'm going to continue filming, but I will post that as a separate video. So yeah, that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I post videos every single day in the month of October. Make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for the rest of this story because it's just starting to get creepy and weird. And so yeah, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.